In this video, we're going to cover all the basics you need to start gearing your heroes, as well as my 4-step guide for making sure that you have the best gear. Also, there are going to be 2 tips in this video that are going to skyrocket the performance of your espers if you're not doing them, so you're not going to want to miss that. First, I wanted to talk about some basic builds for all the different types of espers. Of course, there's going to be some exceptions, but these builds are going to go a long way. You've got 4 different types of espers: defenders, supports, controllers, and fighters. For defenders and supports, they have a similar basic build, focusing on a lot of health, a lot of defense, and a good amount of speed. These units can also utilize resist pretty well, but like I've mentioned in another video, I don't think resist is that great, especially if you can't get it up to 100. Controllers are probably the easiest class of esper to gear because you really only care about speed and you care about accuracy. You're trying to land your debuffs and you're trying to go fast so you can keep applying debuffs. Being able to take the first turn can be especially powerful for controlling type espers. And lastly is fighter espers. There are kind of 2 subtypes here. There's kind of your standard DPSs, which want crit chance, crit damage, attack, and some speed as much as you can get. And there's also the more tanky version, which really kind of want almost all the stats that aren't accuracy and resist, so they can take some hits and dish them out too. Next, we'll explain a little bit about how gear works because it's going to help you get the gear that you want. For the top row of gear, they all have flat, set main stats. Triangles have attack, diamonds have defense, and hexagons have health. For the bottom row, the main stat is variable. So you can have health, defense, and attack either in percentage or flat stat version, and each one has their own unique main stats that you can't get on any of the other ones. For example, circles can do crit chance and crit damage, squares can do accuracy or resist, and spades can do speed, which is really important. Along with main stats, all pieces of gear have up to 4 substats, which can be any stat that an esper has, and some will start with 2, some will start with 4, and you just have to unlock them as you go. Every time you level up a gear 3 times, you're going to get either a new substat if you don't have 4, or if you already have 4, you're going to enhance one of your existing substats. So you might be wondering how gear level comes into play. But let me tell you, gear level trumps all. Every time you go up a gear level, the increments of your main stats, the increments of your substats increase. So you just get way more stats. And this means that you're gonna always want to use the highest gear level gear you can have. Now, how deep does this rabbit hole go? Let's check out these 5-star and 6-star pieces of gear with attack percent. Now the 5-star has 36% attack, but the 6-star has 53% attack. That's a 17% difference. Now you're gonna notice that on the 5-star gear, it has about 20% worth of substats on it, which means the whole piece of gear, substat and main stat included, is almost equivalent to just the main stat on the 6-star piece of gear. So if you had a 6-star piece of gear that had totally irrelevant substats, it would still be better than a 5-star piece of gear with perfect substats, which is kind of crazy to think about. So my 4-step guide kind of relies that you're farming Chronos 10 or APEP 10. So if you're not quite there yet, here's a beginner guide for you. First, focus on the main stats, the bottom row of the gear. Those percentage main stats are going to give you the much needed boost that you need. Second step for your beginners is to just upgrade your gear level. So 1-star, 2-star, 3-star gear, just keep improving that. That's going to give you so much more bonus than trying to nitpick your matching sets, which is the next step. Once you start getting to around 4-star, 5-star level gear, you can combine matching your correct main stats on the bottom row with having the main sets. It's going to be a little bit easier because at this point you're probably getting some sets from the story or from Chronos if you have to go farm that a little bit just to get little upgrades to keep on moving. And then the final step is to check out the 4-step gear guide, because at this point you can probably get to Chronos 10, APEP 10, or close on one of them, and you can start focus on getting those premium quality gears. And so a little tip I have for you here to juice your espers just a little bit more is to use spades with main stat speed. That extra speed is just gonna make them take turns so much faster. They're gonna be zooming off like you've never seen them do before. It's a huge bump. All right, it's time for the 4-step gear guide. For step 1, you're gonna check the main stats. So if it's a bottom row gear, you're gonna want the right main stats. If you need some help with that, just check out the beginning of the video where I mentioned those basic builds. If it's a top row gear, you can't do anything about that. Step number 2 is going to be checking your substats. You can start between 2 and 4. What you're looking for here is having at least 2 substats that you'd like to start off with. The more, the merrier. Once you've got 2, you can move on to step number 3. Step number 3 is going to be unveiling all the rest of your substats. So you're going to take your gear to +3 or +6, whatever unveils all 4 substats. And once you've checked all 4, you can see if you've got 3 that you like. Now that's important. You're going from 2 to 3. 3 is kind of like the minimum of what you want. And once you got the 3, you can do the final step of our journey, which is taking your gear up to +15. Please don't do that. That's really expensive. You really only need to do it if you need to squeak out a little bit of extra juice. +12 is going to be fine for most of your use cases. However, there is a little tidbit going on here. As you're rolling up your gear, if it rolls into an unwanted substat more than once, you might consider about throwing that gear away, because you're just losing out on a little bit too many stats. However, depending on your desperation level, depending on how new you are to 6-star gear, you may want to keep those pieces just because they have the right main stat. So there's always an exception to the rule, and the exception here is 4 substats started with. That means you skip step 3, you had all 4 of them revealed at the beginning. Because you didn't have to spend any extra resources in enhancing them to reveal the substats, that means you can take this, say this is the bad substat, and you can take 2 rolls into this and not feel too bad. So now that you know all the steps, you can check out this video right here where I use this 4-step gear guide to gear a character. Now I don't know who that character is going to be yet, so comment down below and let me know who you want to see. Happy rolling. Peace.